Welcome to this first chapter and first trial at making a Twitch integration. So we have a first black box. It's going to be the Twitch API. Now we have a second black box, which is our game. The game with choices currently already has an interface that exists, and that is the player and their controller. What we want to do is the controller is directly the Twitch API. Okay, so first of all, just to be sure we have everything, we are going to have a request manager. This is what the game is going to tell. I want to ask something. A request is the question, the answers, the results of the poll. So the interface has to be capable of start a question, listen to answers, stop a question. We can make a debugger interface here, simulate a chat. So what I like to do with my programming is to imagine how the end programmer is going to use it. Request manager dot start new request, my question, my answers. Start new request is going to return an object. That way, if I want to update regularly, the class request kind of created its own need. We have a second class, request. A request, it's the question asked to the audience. An array of possible answers. Let's make a constructor that takes the question, the answer. An iRequest handler is going to be an interface, something that's capable of handling requests. It can be anything. What an interface can do? It can start request. What we have as answers is an array of strings. Each string is going to have a number of votes. Some people voted answer 1, some people voted answer 2, etc, etc. So we are going to hold an array of ints. Let's get back to imagining I want to start a request. I ask the request manager to start a new request. Hello, how are you? New array of strings, bad or good. This returns to me a request. Now, the request handler is going to do whatever it wants to update the votes and change the count. Add vote, int and index. Let's add a certain number of and vote increase. Vote number index is going to grow and vote increase. Now we can imagine it better. The request manager starts a new request. It has a request handler. And something is going to say this is new Twitch API handler. When it starts a new request, we create a new request. We ask the request handler to start it if it could. So let's summarize. We have the request manager that allows us to start a new request. We create the request, we start it, we return it, and if we can't, it's null. Any other piece of code, therefore, only has to do request manager dot start new request, question, answers, and check if whatever is returned is. Now we are going to need to integrate this system in the game. We are going to need an audience, which I don't have. So this is an issue. How do we get an audience? Program them to exist. A fake way to simulate an audience. Debug for online handler is going to simulate a chat and a group of people answering the question. Start coroutine, simulate chat. We are going to wait a random amount of time. So in my case, I'm just going to create a fake on chat message callback. And let's imagine that this is the Twitch API. Twitch random.range anything between 0 and 10. Case 0, fake message, poggers. Case 1, fake message. This is going to answer one of the question. The chat is going to type 1, 2, 3, 4 to answer number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. So we're going to have to deal with the people who have fun doing this, have fun doing this, etc, etc. Yeah, okay, 10 messages may have been too many. Between 0 and 4. So now we have a fake message. Send it back to our handler. This gets called when the chat has sent a message. If there's no poll, we can already stop. we shouldn't even be listening to the chat if there's no poll. We check if the message begins with our special character. So if the chat message starts with an exclamation point, let's have a list of users. We don't want someone to be able to vote twice per poll. John, Mary, Kate, Blueberry Man, Super Duper Gamer, and me and my bros. So we do a fake message from anyone. So a random user sent us one of these messages. We check if the message begins with our special character. We remove the special character. We check if it's a number after that. If it is, then we make sure it's in the bounds of our answers. Finally, we check if this user hasn't already voted. If they haven't, we count their votes. On start, it's going to ask Online Poll Manager to start a new online poll. How are you doing? And the answers are good, bad. The first thing that should happen is our fake chat registering. Fake chat has been auto-registered. Mary has voted. Mary tried to vote again, but it was not valid. This game is great. John has voted, so it's 2 for good, 0 for bad. Blueberry Man has voted. Me and my bros has voted. Everyone has voted for the first time. Perfect. This is working. Now we can do whatever we want with our vote, since anything can listen to the results of the poll. First, you're going to register your application on dev.twitch.tv. When we are asking Twitch to do something, we are calling a web page. We are going to have a request system that will automatically do a request. I have made a request file that will allow us to do requests. JSON.create the result. It takes result that Twitch sent us, turns it into a JSON object that is going to be easier to read. And then whoever started the request gets sent this JSON object. Now let's take a look at what poll request looks like. So let's check the documentation from Twitch. The URL we are going to send this request to is this one, which contains the broadcaster ID, the title of the poll or the question, the choices with a title, a duration, and some additional parameters. We are going to create the request. It needs first the URL. Second parameter is the method. So in our case, the method is post. We are simplifying all of this in order to only have to do this. We send the web request, and when it's completed, it's going to call the onCompleted function. We are going to do the same for get requests and patch requests. There are multiple cases that we can think of. The first case is, this is the first time I'm starting the application. I'm going to need an authentication token. This is going to require to get the token and get the broadcaster informations. The second case is, I already have asked for the authentication token, and I just want to create a client with the informations I have. So now we are going to need to get an authentication token. We need the authorization from Twitch to do things. I create the client. I get the token and wait for it to be ready. And now we have a big problem. Let's make our poll, okay? Let's create the poll. So, requested body. First information we need is the broadcaster ID. The ID of the broadcaster that's running the poll, or basically on which Twitch channel is the poll being created. And you don't have this information. You've never gotten it. You have a big long authentication token for the rights to do things on the user's Twitch channel. You have a code for your application. You have a secret code to know which version of your application you're using. But you don't even know the name of the broadcaster. That's a bit of a problem, isn't it? Luckily, Twitch thought about that. The get users request allows you to get information about one or more users. If you don't specify any IDs or login names that you want the information of, the request returns information about the user in the access token. And we have an access token. So if we ask this with an access token and no information about who we are asking it about, it's going to give us the information about the person we've asked for. So we create the client. We get the authentication token. We get the broadcaster information. And now we have everything we need to send requests on the Twitch chat of this user. So while this is happening, the game is waiting. And look at that. If you press authorize, Six Legends will be able to create a poll on your channel. We authorize. Okay, we've gotten the response with the access token. It's over. We have the JSON containing the information about my channel. We parse it, and now the user contains my display name is Vincent Paquin, my ID is this, and my login is this. And we tell the client that we have found the user. So now that we have a client, and now that we are able to send any request to Twitch system, we are going to implement a new feature, which is the polls. There are three functions for polls. One is to get the list of all the polls, one is to create a new poll, and one is to end an active poll. So here we have a response for a poll, an ID. We have information on the broadcaster, title of the poll, list of choices. It has an ID, a title, a number of votes, and additional data about the poll, duration, status, etc., etc. So we look at the response from Twitch, and we know that a poll has an ID, broadcaster ID, name and login, we have them in the client. I'm also interested only in the duration. We are going to need a function to request an update, and we are going to need a function to request an end. So we create the JSON parameters, the JSON is ready, we send the request to create the poll. A response looks like this. We can only request an update if we don't have a request ongoing. Finally, to end a poll, it's a patch request, and we are already done. We have included all three of the poll features, a get, a post, and a patch, in a pretty easy to use class, so we are going to use it at least once. And that way, when we are anywhere with a client, we can create a poll. My test, 20 seconds, yes, no. This returns to us a poll, and the poll can request an update, can request an end. We can view the list of choices, and we can get the number of votes in these choices. We can request an update, we can request an end, we can look at the results, all of that in less than 4 lines. I hope this tutorial has been easy enough for you. So we are done. Have a nice day. Bye.